known for 30 something years. She was getting a raise and gets a bonus every year from the company that she works for. And I asked her, what the bonus was figured on, and she couldn't tell me. And I asked her how much she was going to get, and she couldn't tell me. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, they just give me whatever they want to give me. And I said, well, then how can you figure out how to make more? And she said, well, I just trust that they'll do the right thing. And I got so annoyed that she doesn't even know how she can, calculate her value to this company, right? She doesn't even understand what they're using as a basis, or how she could do better, or whether or not they think she's doing a good job. And it just struck me that so many people are not standing up for themselves, or not speaking out as themselves, or not asking for what they want, or not negotiating in a way that works, or not communicating in a clear fashion so they get the results that they require, and also not recognizing that they are a brand. So that's what caused this masterclass. And I'm going to this morning give you some points on branding, communication, and negotiation. And it is my wish and intention that you will find something in here to take into your life and make some kind of a change for yourself that gives you a new possibility. So that's the purpose of today. Whether you are working for someone else's company or working for yourself, so solopreneur, entrepreneur, professional, leader, whatever you are your brand. You are your brand. And I know that everyone thinks branding is like logo and website and, the things that you give people, business cards, and those are representations of your brand. Your real brand is you. You are the brand. And no matter what you're doing in your life, working for someone else's company or working for yourself, your brand, that's what's creating the relationship. That's what's creating the relationship with your customer, your consumer, your client, the people on your staff, your team. You are creating that relationship. And you have to first be aware of what brand is. Your brand is how you show up. It's your attitude. It's your behavior. It's the way that you treat people. It's what people say about you when you leave the room. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. It's how you show up. It's how you look. Also, I say to people all the time, there's a lot of solopreneurs and entrepreneurs that do business primarily on the web. And so when they show up to do a meeting, and they just have their robe on or their sweatshirt, and they just have their hair in a ponytail, and then they're telling me that they want to charge people for their services. You have to think about, you might be working from your home, or you might be, in a home office, or you might work at a gym or whatever, but how you show up is the presentation that you're making, and how you show up is what people think about you. It's nice to say that how people look doesn't matter, or how they put themselves together doesn't matter. And the truth is, it does matter, because you're saying something with that. It doesn't matter whether you're skinny or not skinny, or pretty or not pretty. None of that matters. If you're green, blue, black, purple, I don't care. What matters is how you put yourself together, right? Because you can tell when someone's not together and when they are together. That's two very different. If I asked you to think about people in your life that people that show up like they look together, and they look like they're on purpose, and they look like they know what they're talking about, versus people that just show up like they look like they crawled out of their dresser drawer and ran to make the meeting, right? So it matters. It matters how you show up, and that's in your communication as well as your presentation. And so your brand is what people say about you and what they think about you. And all of that comes from how you behave. And so if you are a kind, gentle person in your business, and then you go to a restaurant and you treat the waitstaff like shit, you see what I'm saying? That is an incongruent brand, right? Or if you sit at your desk and everything's pretty and marvelous, and you look fantastic and everything's on point, and you shuffle out to your car and you open the door and so much trash falls out that you can't even get into the driver's seat, that's an incongruency. Okay. And that matters. And you know why it matters? Because it's eating your energy, right? Because you're trying to be this and you are really behaving like this. And so those are two drastically different things, right? It's why I will tell you in a few minutes, don't talk out both sides of your mouth. That's what that means. It means I'm on here, I'm pitching you, or I'm talking to you, or I'm teaching you, or I'm leading you, and I'm this way. And then as soon as I shut this off, I go over here and I act like a complete asshole, or I walk into a filthy, room, or what. Like, that's an incongruency. And so what happens is the work that you're doing, or the people that you're managing, or what you're trying to make happen doesn't have the full power that it could. Because when your brand is aligned and congruent, and you are behaving the same way that you are speaking and acting and thinking, that gives you a lot of power. That gives you the power to manifest changes and results and all of the things that you may want to manifest for your life or your business. Also, branding, be able to explain what you do to a fifth grader. If you can't explain what you do to a fifth grader, we've got to go back to the drawing board, because people tend to overcomplicate the message of their brand, what their brand is. They overcomplicate that whole process. Just remember, think of your brand is you, and therefore is a living, breathing entity. And that is what is creating relationship out there. So it's not like, oh, this is my business and this is me, or this is my job and this is me. No, you are you wherever you go. So if you are your business, that is your brand. And if you are a manager or a leader or a coach or whatever, we've got the two girls up here from Antonio's gym that are coaches. So if we use them as an example, if they are out there pushing the kids and, telling them to work hard and be disciplined and all of these things, and then they're not doing that themselves, their coaching won't hold up. It won't resonate with the kids. The kids might be young, but they're not stupid. Kids are sharp, right? And if you are a coach, and you are coaching someone and pushing them, and you are not pushing yourself in your own life wherever you need to, because we all have to be pushing ourselves somewhere in order to stay sharp, your coaching just won't be as good as it could be. I won't say it won't be good, but it won't be as good as it could be, right? So your work in the world will only go as deep as you go with yourself, right? Your impact will only be as great as the work that you're willing to do on you, and the discipline that you're willing to enact over here, and the things that you're willing to push yourself against. And consistency is a big part of that too. Whatever your brand is, you've got to be consistent with that. And this is where I've been doing work out in the business field for almost 40 years now, and I see people lose it the most with consistency. They have a great thing, or they want to do a thing, or they're going to go on social, whatever it is, and they go balls to the wall for a week or two, maybe a month, and then the consistency falls off, and then they wonder why nothing's working, and they come to me and say, how come I can't reach the revenue target that I want, or why is my life not working, or why do I have no money in the bank? And then we backtrack, and it's like, where are you showing up consistently for yourself and for your life and for the things that you say that you're going to be responsible for? Most people lose it in the consistency piece. It is very hard to stay consistent, especially when the task is monotonous, because people get bored and they get attached to the result, right? Like, oh, I'll post on social media every day because I want to get clients. And then they post for a month and crickets and nothing happens. And they go, oh, okay, forget it. I'm done with that. That doesn't work. I have news. Sometimes it looks for a long time like nothing's working until it works. And you won't know that unless you're consistent. You won't know if anything's going to work if you can't hold yourself to a line, and if you can't be consistent. Your words, your actions, all the things And brand is really also, who are you when nobody's looking? Like if I were to just come into your house and there's nobody around, what are you doing? You know, if you're out there coaching people or being a spiritual practitioner or whatever it is that you do, and you're saying one thing, and then I come into your house and you're laying on the sofa watching Lifetime and eating a big bag of Cheetos, like, and you're a health coach, or you're, you know, trying to move people in a spiritual way, or like whatever, right? It doesn't, it's, you think, oh, nobody can see me. Well, okay, but you know what you're doing. Do you see what I'm saying? It erases some of your power, right? Because you know that you're out there going blah blah blah, and then you're over here doing whatever, which doesn't line up with this thing. And so now when you go out to the world to deliver your communication or deliver your message, you're trying to convince people that you're worth something. You're trying to sell them, right? And that's where that stuff comes off as like chatter and just like over salesman-y. Because if I'm valuable and I bring value to the table, I don't have to convince you. I come from a place where I want to share that value with you, and I want to help you, or I want to show you something, or I want to make something available to you, right? But I'm not trying to sell you on me. I'm not trying to beat you over the head with how valuable I am or how much I can do for you. No, if I'm really believing my own value, I don't give a shit. Come and participate with me or not. I know I can transform your life. I know I can change things for you. I've been doing this a long time, almost 44 years. So I know what I bring to the table, right? I don't have to convince you. And that's where everybody that is wanting to make a difference in the world, no matter what you're doing, whether you're a person who manages a team or you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, a small business owner, whatever you are, you're on this call, I'm guessing, because you really want to make a difference with whatever it is that you're doing and you actually care. And so when you're a person like that, you want to show up. You want to own that room when you walk into it, not in an egoic way, in a way that's like, hey, I bring value to the table and I want to share this value with you, or I have this thing to offer, or I have this way to participate with me, or whatever it is. You don't have to try to convince somebody of that, right? You don't have to think about how you could come from a place where your value is a fact and not a pitch. Look at it that way, right? You're just, whatever you do, you sell real estate, you're a coach, you have divorce squad like Suzanne, you sell garlic salt like Susie, whatever it is, right? You do people's styling like Sandra, whatever that is. You want to show up in that, in your space, and show up out in the world like your value is a fact. It's not a pitch. And your value being a fact is not an egoic thing. That is like a true representation of you and your contribution that you want to make to the world. And this is where the brand thing comes in so important, because if you truly are, excuse me, if you truly are what you say you are, and you are congruent and aligned, you don't have to convince anybody of anything, because that just goes into the room with you and people can feel that, right? And people know that. Okay, so about branding, what else? I'd love it if you came, and this could be homework if you're interested, to be able to communicate your brand in 1 to 3 words. So if I said to you, you know, what do you do? Or what's the like, what's your tagline? Or, you know, what do you stand, like, what are you? What is your brand? For me, that the answer to that would be possibility. And it would be great to figure out what that word is for yourself. 1 to 3 words. Like, think of a tagline, right? Like a tagline. What would be a tagline to whatever it is that you do, or whatever your brand is? Even if you're just a personal brand, even if you're like the girls up here, they're coaches inside of a gym, inside of Antonio's business. They are still a brand, though. They are still a brand because they're presenting themselves to the youth every single day, you know? Angela's saying taglines are like more than like about 4 to 10 words. Okay, so how about 5 words? How about 5 words? Let's see. I teach people possibility exists. Okay, you're right. That's 5 words. All right, Angela for the win. 5 words. That's just a good, because when you know, here's the thing, when you know what your brand is and you create those values and kind of that mission statement, and you know what you're about, right? Then anything that comes to you that's not that, it's easy for you to say no to. It's much easier to just clean up your world, because it's like, this is what I am. Oh, you have this opportunity, or this type of client comes to me. Oh, can I help you with this? No, I really can't. Sorry. No, I don't want to do that. No, I'm not going to speak there. No, I'm not going to do it. It it makes you more powerful because you're more concise and you're more clear, and you know where you're going and what you're doing. And a lot of people don't think of themselves as the brand. They think of the business as the brand. I have a business and that's my brand, right? So what I'd like you to do is like shift that paradigm for yourself. You are the brand. The business is an extension of you, and therefore you are, think of it like the Procter and Gamble is like the overarching brand, and then they have Palmolive and they have all these other things. So like if you have a business, or even if you have 2 businesses, you are still that master umbrella. You are the brand, right? You are the brand, and it's you that are creating the relationships out in the world to participate with you. And that's a relationship to create. So your brand is not just shoving your logo in somebody's face. It's like you are wanting to make a relationship there, and that takes effort on your part to create that relationship. You know, a lot of people are selling and communicating. You're beating people over the head with your, I see this all the time, especially on BBW. Like they just show up and they vomit their offer, and they don't tell us anything about themselves. They don't share anything. And then the only time you see them post is when they're offering something. And then it's like, well, how the hell are we supposed to get to know, like, and trust you if we're following Christina's methodology, which is very sound, you know, know, like, and trust? How are we supposed to do that? How, how are we supposed to know you if the only time we see you is when you're trying to sell us something, right? And listen, also, people in your life that happen to buy your thing or purchase your product. I'll give you an example from my own life. I used Arbonne products for a long time because a very good friend of mine sold those products, and I liked the product, but I also liked her. But then it came to be that the only time I heard from her was like, hi, how are you? Oh, we're having a sale. Never was there another time I heard from her. And we've been friends since high school. So all of a sudden, the only time I ever heard from her was, hi, oh yeah, we're having a sale. I thought you might like, you know, because you might imagine that if I like a product, I might buy a lot of it, maybe because I like products. So I would only ever hear when, you know, when she in essence wanted something. And so I stopped using the products, because that just, you know, that's just yucky. It feels like when you go onto the lot and 65 salesmen come over and they're like, oh, you want to buy a car? Let me tell you about this car. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like, get the away from me. I do not like, I will come and see you when I know what I want or what I want to do. Right. And it's the same. So if you have people in your life that have to be your clients, or even just your, like, whatever, like, participate with the people, communicate with the people, check on the people, make a relationship with the people. Don't just knock on their door when you want something, because that's just gross. It just feels gross. It feels gross to you. And so just imagine that it would also feel gross to someone else, right? If they were doing that. If you know what I'm saying, if you were doing that to them, it wouldn't feel good. And this kind of rolls right into my points about communication. So it's not simply what you say, it's the energy behind what you say. And you guys, I know most of you on here understand that and know that, right? It's like when I say something to you, you may not you may not resonate with exactly the words that I'm saying, but you will feel the energy with which I say them. You will feel the energy which with I am communicating to you, right? You will feel, because, you know, someone could say in the South, I lived there for 12 years. They'd say, "Oh, bless your heart." And you knew they were saying F you, like you could feel it. But that's how they said it there, because they're all very polite in the South, right? And that's how they, "Oh, bless your heart. It's so good to see." And it's like, oh God, this is really like, because me, I'm from, you know, I grew up in South Boston and Hyde Park and Milton, right? It's like, and Cape Cod. It's like, if I don't like you, I'm not going to pretend that I like you. You know what I mean? Like if there's something going on, I'm just going to tell you what's going on. I'm not going to hug you and say bless your heart if like I'm upset with you. I'm going to tell you. So when you communicate with people, this is like when you're trying to sell something and you are in a panic about making money. In fact, this is a great example. When you are having to stir up revenue and you're panicking about that, and now you hit like you're putting an offer out there, or you're trying to sell a house, or you're trying to do a thing, and everything you're doing smells like desperation, except you're not saying those words, right? You're saying, "Oh, would you like to buy this, or would you like to see this, or would you like to check this out?" Or Sandra might say, you know, "Oh, I'd love to give you an evaluation of your closet." Or, you know, you may be saying all the right things, but you smell like desperation, and that's the energy coming off of you, and then you wonder why it's not working. And it's because you don't have yourself in check there. You're not looking at what you want to communicate and then feeling the energy of how, you know, what kind of a place you're in to communicate that, right? Which is why getting a hold of your peace and poise and keeping yourself, you know, in equilibrium is really important, especially when you're in business for yourself, because it can get scary. You know, when the checking account starts dropping and you don't see where it's going to come from, the first thing you want to do is go into panic mode. And that's absolutely the last thing that you should do. In fact, I'm probably going to teach some prosperity courses, because I'm seeing in everyone that I've been working with in the last few weeks, I'm seeing that some prosperity lessons could be really valuable. And I've been studying and teaching that stuff by my mother's side since I was about 11. So I have a lot of history with the prosperity stuff. Okay. So also, clear is kind. I'm stealing that from Brene Brown. If anyone's done Brene Brown's work, this is one of her famous statements, and it's gold. Clear is kind. No matter what the message is, clear is kind. Don't bury people in chatter that is designed to keep them from the brunt of your message, right? Does that resonate? Like when you have to deliver a communication that maybe is uncomfortable or confrontational, like don't bury that in a bunch of stuff. Figure out the clearest way and the kindest way that you can communicate that. And then just be clear and kind with the communication. I see people try to avoid confrontation all the time, and it ends up just making a mess, because you end up like hurting the person's feelings far more than you would have if you had just said the thing, whatever it is. And if you are a boss or you have employees and you're needing to give constructive feedback, and you think that it might not be well received, I have always done a feedback loop with employees. So it's like, first we start with what's working, and then we talk about what's not working. So that's also a great thing to take to relationships, because it's a great way to start, you know, with something that's positive, and then have a way to bring in like what isn't working, and then always give them the solution, right? Especially if it's someone working with you or for you. So you want to say like, it didn't work when, and take them out of it. Like instead of saying it didn't work when you did this, say what's not working is when this happens and then this happens. And so what could work better is to do it this way. So I might say to Sally, I'm picking on Sally and Callie because first of all, their names rhyme. And second of all, they work for Antonio. So I can't get into too much trouble, I don't think. But let's just say that Sally or Callie is coaching someone in a way that is not, working for Antonio or for the gym. And so he might need to, because he's training them both, right? So he might need to take them aside and he might want to say, so what worked great was this. And then what didn't work is when you had Fred bend over to do that exercise and you didn't make sure that he was in alignment and he actually picked up the weight that was a bit heavier, like that didn't. So instead of saying it didn't work when you made that kid pick up that weight, that it was too, like that, right? So now, because you're taking the person out of that communication and you're speaking about what worked and what didn't work. And so you're still talking to a person, right? But you're taking out that component of hurting their feelings. I mean, their feelings still could be hurt, and that's okay because sometimes that happens. But when you do what works and what doesn't work, or what worked and what didn't work, you're framing it for them and you're telling them what worked first so they can kind of hang on to that one, and then you're talking about what didn't work, and then it's a little bit less of a sting. Yeah, so be clear, and in your offers be clear, and in your opportunities, be clear, and stop trying to convince people. Like I said before, if you are out there with an offer and your goal is to get clients, put yourself in the place of the client or the customer avatar or whatever it is, and think about how they're thinking, and think about what is going on for them and what their pain point is. And if you can, interview a couple of them and really listen, and then craft your communication based on the solution to what you hear. And that's very different than me crafting an offer and throwing it at you and then trying to convince you that it's what you need. Right? Because if I'm really listening to you, then I can hear what it is that you require, and then I can craft a solution for you that actually serves you and helps you. And so that's just a different way of communicating with people. Using Suzanne as an example, like you could interview, I know you do, and that's how you actually created your thing, is she went and listened to a lot of the women that were struggling with divorce and what was going on for them. And she has actually crafted a business that solves a good portion of those problems. And she still continues to listen. And I know this because we did a strategy session, so I hope she doesn't mind me using her as an example. She actually has crafted a suite of solutions for these women based on what she heard, that, where they were struggling. So when you are communicating, especially if you're communicating in regards to your business or your position at work or your professional position, or even in your relationship, really, speak from a position of authority and not egoically. Authority means that you have the experience or the life experience or the work. It means that everything that you are comes to the table when you come to the table. And there's a lot of value in that. And I feel like a lot of people discount their value because they're just so worried that everyone else out there might be better or have something better, or you are unique and you have a unique set of skills and you have a unique set of life experiences and you have something unique to offer. And this is why when people come to me for business advice and they say, well, this guru told me this, or this book said this, and this said that. And I say, listen, a lot of the advice is very sound and excellent. What you have to do is not even listen to, I don't try to tell people, I give you tools, or I give you ideas, or I ask you questions, or I point you in directions, or I take your data and I point things out to you, right? Because everyone has their own path. There is no one way to market. There is no one way to do your social media. There is no, there are ways that other people have done their stuff that have worked really well, and people share that, and that's fantastic. However, you are the only one that really knows your brand and your business because it is you and it stems from you. So you have to decide what works for you, and you have to trust yourself enough to trust your gut. So even if every business, whatever in the world is telling you it's purple, and you, honest to God, think you're supposed to go with pink because that's what your intuition is telling you, then you go with pink because that's what feels right to you, because only you know what's right for you. So don't be afraid of like the knowledge that's inside of you. Like you already have all the answers. People like me are just like, God put me on the planet to just spark that conversation for you, right? Like to just dig in a little bit and push on some things so that you can then go back to yourself and say, okay, let me think about this. Let me ask this question. Let me see if I can put this together, right? And I'm also really good at, pinpointing where you're stuck, and then giving you some tools and ideas for how to get unstuck. But never do I tell people that I am the solution. I am a way to help you get to your own solution. And I just want to say that to all of you. Like, you all have everything that you need is somewhere in there. It might take one of us to blow, me, I'm famous for saying I'm like a stick of dynamite. I'll shove it up your butt and, blow you into a change. And that's just a way for you to get to the solution, which you already have somewhere inside you. So, yeah. So don't be afraid to listen to yourself and follow your own counsel, because it's in there somewhere. I really do believe that. And also, when you're out in the world in regards to communication, it's great to be a possibilist. William Ury wrote a great book called The Possibilist, and it came out about a year or so ago. And he's a master negotiator and has negotiated, some incredible political things. He's not a political person; he's a professor. However, his call to action for everyone was to be a possibilist, which means that you go into a situation and you look at what the possibilities are instead of seeing, what appears to be there, right? So a terrible solution, a negotiation that seems impossible, something that seems like it can't be done, two people fighting, it seems like there's no resolution, dysfunctional family where it seems like there's nothing that can be done. Suzanne, this could translate to you for like a woman and a man getting a divorce, and it just seems like an awful, awful thing, and everyone's being very petty and terrible. And, for you to walk into that conversation with the woman as a possibilist to say, what could a win look like for both of you, right? Like when you walk into a negotiation, one of the first things you want to determine is, what does a win look like? What does a win look like for you? And what does a win look like for the other person? And when you walk into a negotiation, walk in with that, knowing your value. Don't ever walk into a negotiation thinking that you have to prove your worth and your value, because you will lose before anybody even starts talking. You have to walk in there like you own the room. And set your intention prior to going in there, and then release the energy that's attached to the outcome. Like, in other words, I intend that this goes this way, and then don't attach your energy to the outcome, because it could go all kinds of ways. And when you attach your energy to the outcome, you could be crushed, and it actually could have a different resolution that you didn't expect. So when you attach your energy to an outcome, right, then you could tank yourself and you could miss the possibility that is there, because always something is possible. There's always something possible. One of the best things that I ever learned from my mother, who learned it from a master teacher, and I share it all the time. We never, ever judge anything by the way that it looks in the moment. Not ever. I don't care what it is, a medical diagnosis, a seeming crash, like whatever it is, we don't judge by that. We immediately go to, what is our intention in the matter? What is our intention for the outcome? And then we start directing our energy there. And then every time someone comes in and says, oh, no, this, no, this, no, this. Okay. That's a very, very powerful thing that I could share with you, that I am sharing with you, because the whole thing will follow where your energy and attention goes. So if things look a mess or something looks catastrophic and you feed that, we've lost. We already lost the battle and the war, right? So this happens, and if you're not strong enough yet in your own practice to do it yourself, call somebody or get in my free community and ping me or email me and I will help you. Because what we have to do immediately is hold to the intention that you want to see happen, and then we start directing your energy there. Okay. Very valuable, especially when there's seeming catastrophic situation in front of you. So yeah, I have other stories about that, but we'll save them for another time. Just really, 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 I can't stress that enough. When something shows up in your life that is not the way that you want it to be, don't feed into the energy of what it looks like, right? Just put your intention on how you want it to turn out and then start directing energy there and deal with what you have to deal with in real time for whatever it is, all the while keeping your energy and attention on the outcome that you want to see happen. When you come into a negotiation or any kind of like a communication situation, be prepared to walk away if it doesn't suit you or it's not what you want or it isn't working out the way you want. Don't be afraid to just say, no, thanks. That doesn't work. That's not turning out the way I want. I'll see you later. So there's a lot of power in the strategy of silence as well, right? When people are trying to negotiate or trying to get something from, when it's not going the way you want, don't be afraid to just shut up. Don't say anything. And, people will tend to trip all over themselves, and you can learn a lot when they're doing that, and you can also see, where you might be able to navigate a different outcome when they're doing that. People get nervous when there's silence, by the way. Have you noticed that? They get very they start kind of like, so if you can master silence as a strategy for anything that you do, it's great. Even when you're teaching and coaching, because a lot can happen in that silence, when you are negotiating, keep your emotion out of it. That's also especially if you are negotiating a contract or you are trying to get a client or you are negotiating on price for something, do not get emotional. A real negotiation is about data, facts, and direct language, because there is something that everyone came to the table to get done, and it just needs to get done, right? And so if people start bringing emotion to the table, nothing ever gets done, because with emotion usually comes reactivity of some sort. And when people are being reactive, nothing good is happening there. When people are responding is when you get powerful solutions and resolutions. And so this is why it helps, if you have an important negotiation that you are in the middle of or that you have to go to or whatever, it's really great to understand what a win looks like for both parties, because a real negotiation is a win-win. I mean, that's really if you're people like us, that's really what a negotiation is. It's like everybody wins. There's a way to get everybody winning and for everybody to get what they want. And in order for that to happen, someone in the room needs to be a possibilist, right? Somebody needs to see that. Somebody needs to be the stand for possibility. Somebody needs to be the stand for everybody to get what they want. Okay, so let me see if I covered everything I wanted to cover. I cannot stress enough either keeping your peace in the middle of all the things, whether you're, communications, relationships, negotiations, your offers, everything that has anything to do with you presenting yourself to the world, for you to come from a place of peace and poise just gives you so much strength in everything else that you do. Because if you are frazzled and you are not feeling pulled together, nothing good really happens, right? Because you're just not giving it your full ability. You're not giving it the full power that you can give it because you don't feel like you're coming from a place of peace. So that's really important. There's a great book by Juliet Funt called, it's something about white space, and it's escaping me at the moment. Something about valuing the white space or taking the white space. And it is a great book about practicing the pause and the power of the white space, the power of like making white space on your calendar. White space, obviously, you guys know, is like nothing, just like space and grace to like figure it out, or for something new to show up, or every second of every day doesn't have to be filled and jammed up with something. You have to allow yourself like space and grace in between the things, and space and grace in between, you communicating with other people or taking appointments or whatever, because when you're off, everything else will be off. And then it makes the work so much harder. It makes everything so much harder. All right, we have like 9 minutes. I like to begin and end on time because I respect everyone's schedule. So does anybody want to ask a question or make a comment? You can just take yourself off mute and jump in. Heidi, go for it.
Well, first and foremost, Noelle, I really appreciate, and it's so refreshing, your no BS, like just directness and your heart that, you come to us, to me, to us with such wisdom and knowledge and common sense. And a lot of it I already know. And to be reminded of this is really helpful. And, uh, you know, whether we're in business or, under the gun or doing whatever life, this all applies. How we show up for our family. Do we have a
Right.
phone in our face?
Right.
Everything. So thank you. And I really appreciate you and all you do to help and lift everyone up. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. I always love to see you. It makes me feel better. Heidi's like my cheerleader. One of them. Angela, please. No, nothing. I see little hands.
I just applauding what Heidi said. That's all.
All right. You'll get to know about me. I'm technically unsound, which is why Callie's here. So when I see hands, I'm not sure if they're clapping or raising or whatever. Anybody else? Question, comment, anything? I know all of you, lots of you are on here, but not on screen. Yeah, go for it.
I just have Angela. I've seen Angela on Mayer, Michael Mayer. Do you belong to his group?
Oh, cool. Is that the real estate?
I'm like, I know her.
That's the real estate group, right?
We're in the generosity generation.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, write your name
I just
down.
wanted to say hey.
Hey.
Good to see you.
See, you never know where people are going to show up. Anybody else? Anything? Nadine, anything?
Yeah, this has been fantastic. Thank you. I feel like as of recent, I've been operating from a place of doubt, and I'm just trying to uncover more about what that's all about. But I have a question around, like, how do you, when you are activated by, this is more a personal relationship.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
And you're like, you're triggered and you're trying to maintain a sense of control and silence, right? What's a good way to like be able to collect thoughts and then be able to communicate those thoughts? Do you have like any tips?
Yeah, so if you are in a place of reactivity, which is I assume so you're in the middle of a thing and then now you're super emotional, super reactivated, and super like, so it's always, this is where like practicing that pause. So either remove yourself or, walk away, or just take yourself out of whatever's going on and give yourself a chance to just take a breath. And a pause could be 5 minutes, could be 2 minutes, could be 30 seconds. It's just that it's you saying like, I recognize that I'm really reactivated right now. And so I just need a minute to reset myself, because whatever is going to come out of my mouth next is not going to be good. So, and that's what it's very rare that this happens to, believe me, I had my moments. I'm Italian, Sicilian, and, you know, I have broken an entire cabinet of dishes over being bullshit about something. So I have been there, done that, and managed to get myself away from that type of behaving. And so now the only time it ever happens now is with my son, because he can push my buttons like nobody else, because my mom has passed away. So it doesn't happen with her anymore. But we are both, he's so well trained by me that we both say, you know what, we're just going to end this right now. And I just need a minute. And, you know, and or I'll hang up, or sometimes I'll hang up on him and then he calls, which is really hard to do. Like, you can't slam the phone anymore like you used to be able to. But, you know, he'll call back and say, did you just hang up on me? And I say, yeah, but like, I need a minute. And, you know, and so it doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen to me, it's what I do. And if probably about a decade ago, when it was still happening with a few other people, I would just say, I would recognize in myself that I was not in a position to have a conversation that was going to forward the action. So I would just say, we have to end this conversation and I'm going to need a minute, or we need to pick this up, you know, tomorrow. Or so just don't be afraid to remove yourself. Just like stand up for yourself and say, this is not working for me, you know, and I don't want to hurt you. So, I'm pretty sure that whatever comes out of my mouth next is not going to be nice. So let me go, let me walk out of the room, let me, you know, and I would hope that try to put yourselves in relationship with people that can at least get that. Because in my lifetime, I've been in relationship with a couple of guys that did not honor that. And when I tried to walk away, they just got right back in my face. And that led to some pretty ugly, you know, arguments and such, right? So try to be with somebody that can respect those boundaries. Like, and it's good if you're married to somebody or you're in that type of situation, it's like, we just need some ground rules. If one of us is really upset or reactivated, like, somebody can call a timeout and the other person has to honor it. And that's it. That's a ground rule. Ground rules are not broken and they're not negotiable. So that's a good way to handle it too. And in regards to the doubt and stuff, jump into the free community, Nadine, if you want, and come sit on come on the coffee chat live on Monday mornings, and maybe I can help with some of that other stuff. Totally free. We were there Monday morning. Christine, Kathleen was there, and Alyssa was there. Both of them are here as well. But we were, you know, I'll be there every Monday morning. What is school? It is a community building platform that Alex Hormozy owns a piece of. So it's just it's actually really cool. So where Teachable is a platform for, you know, like Teachable is to have your courses, and then you can have a community feature, because I have both. School is a place to have a community, and also in there you can sell courses if you want to, or you can put downloadables or whatever it is that you want. But it's just it also has an app, so like you can always be engaged, you know, if the community is, a lot of people do paid communities on School, Angela, but this one is free and it will always be free. So my whole thing is, I left my corporate clients to get back into my own world of business consulting, and I just want to help as many people as possible. And I just trust that if I give a bunch of stuff away for free, the people that can pay me will, and the ones that can't, maybe they'll work with me long enough that they will be able to pay me eventually. But if they don't, that's okay too. I just want to help. I'll be 60 in 3 years. I'll be 57 this year. And I just want to use the rest of my time, which is probably about another 50 something years. I only live to be about 100 and something. So I'll be around for a while. And I just want to help as many people as possible. So that's my MO. Anybody else want to ask anything? We're actually going to finish on time. What do you think of that? Alyssa has to go. So we will send the recording out to everybody. And yeah, And I hope that you got something useful out of it. And I'm thinking about doing these once every 2 months. So I'd love to hear if you want to email me like other topics. I have a wide range of skill sets. So I'm happy to share all kinds of things. Anyway, so have a great rest of the day, everybody. And we will see you soon.